The fine line of collecting and being something that's conducive towards collectors and building hype with collectors and causing problems so people can't get the work. I don't know. I've always taken a different tack myself and made all of my books something that you could get, that you can get all of the stories for, that you can have a shot at something very easily. And so I put most of my books up on Amazon, make them readily available, and that way collectors can get in on it. You can always enjoy the stories, and I want to present good stories first. Which, man, I'm going to get into this topic in a second here because I'm a little frustrated in my collecting. But I'll try my best to service you guys and do what's right on that level all the time. And if you have suggestions, please, I'm always open towards that, towards you, because you are the viewer, the reader, the customer, and I care about your concerns first. Now, what I want to talk about today is Bad Idea Comics. Now, if you've been a follower of the channel, I've been a big proponent of Bad Idea Comics since their inception. It is a company started by Dinesh Shamdasani. I think I pronounced that right. And several people from the old Valiant Comics from 2012, where they had started Valiant Comics. They made Valiant into a beautiful thing, which was something that had wonderful stories, a great universe, etc., and sold the company off, and Valiant kind of went downhill after they cut out the people who were responsible for its success to begin with. Now, these people all got together, built this comic company called Bad Idea, and they've done so with a bunch of interesting marketing gimmicks along the way. Now, those marketing gimmicks have really worked to their favor. If you look at their first release, it was kind of an unannounced thing. It went up on eBay, went for hundreds of dollars. Now, what they did with that was they put that book as backups in the other books so you could, as a reader, read the book pretty easily. And that was kind of nice on that level. Now, they've done a couple other gimmicks just like this. So they had a book that they gave you 2 days notice via email if you were paying attention. You had to buy it at the shop on the day of release, and all other copies of that were then supposed to be mailed back to the company to be destroyed. And if a comic shop doesn't comply with these rules, Bad Idea will cut them out entirely. Very interesting. Next, they made it so that you had to pre-order the entire line of their final 5 books, they call it, in order to get a special prize or whatever. And it turns out that this special prize worked in this level. They did a book called Passive Aggressive, where it was the same book, it seemed like, a one-shot, and same cover, everything. But when it came out, people found out that there were actually 2 books inside. There was one called Passive, one called Aggressive. Well, all the companies, or all the comic book shops on the West Coast got Passive. All the comic shops on the East Coast got Aggressive. And so there was a frenzy to try to get these books, etc. Turns out if you did pre-order the final 5, you were able to redeem a sticker or something, much in classic comic fashion, to be able to get the other copy. You could also call around to other comic shops across the country and get that also, which is what I did. I was able to get both copies of that book, thankfully. So those are things that are a little bit irritating. And on the top of that, because of the way that there's a startup and all that, there's been shipping delays in some of these things, causing problems for people getting their books, etc., which has made for difficulty for these gimmicks to be working out. Now, all of those have been really fun, and they've done another fun thing, which is called the First Customer Pin, which I'm going to get to in a second also. The First Customer Pin, they just had and gave out to people who were the first person in line for comic shops. It's a fun thing. And it was a fun little deal to try to get out there first. I tried a couple times, and I got to the comic shop an hour early, and there was somebody already out there. It started getting absurd where people were waiting for 5 hours, waiting overnight, and it's just like, I'm not doing that for a comic book. I'm sorry. I'm an adult. I have to work, right? And so that happened. Now, there was a mad rush the other day because now Bad Idea has announced that there's 2 exclusive comics coming out that you can only get by redeeming your first customer pins. And you have to redeem 2 of them. So you have to have gotten both of them in order to get one of the 2 comics. You have to have 4 of them if you want to get both comics. So this makes these comics very difficult to get. And as a collector who's been going and buying their books loyally every single time, and it's been a little difficult to get all of them, it becomes difficult to collect. And at this point, because they claim they're shutting down. I think they're going to do something different personally, but they haven't announced anything like that. It's frustrating as somebody who's that loyal to be able to not get the actual books and not be able to read the books, especially by creators that, I'm really interested in paying attention to, like Matt Kindt to begin with. So there's a line where it becomes so excruciatingly difficult as a collector, as a customer, to where it's like you got to throw up your hands and just kind of quit. And when you get there, that's when products tend to go downhill. I've had this experience with a lot of different things I've collected in the past where it gets unwieldy. Magic the Gathering's been a big thing like that. I had every set almost in its entirety up until about, I think it was a little after Lorwyn. And then they started putting in these mythic rares into sets, which made it harder to get the sets, which was fine. And then they went further and they started making SDCC exclusive sets. And it's like, if you didn't go to SDCC, that's going to be $500 to pick up that on top of all your Magic stuff. Then they started putting out these like hyper limited Modern Masters sets and things like that, and just made it harder and harder to get everything out. Full arts came out, limited edition sets on their site came out, and now they've gone so full tilt. There's collectors boosters versus draft boosters versus all this thing. And plus they have their website exclusives, which, get sold out and etc. It's impossible to collect Magic the Gathering now. As a collector, they went too far and made it too difficult for me to really stay on top of things. The comic companies have done this for a long time with their variant covers and their exclusive 1 in 25s and things like that. It makes it so hard on collectors that unless, you're a freaking Silicon Valley millionaire or something who just happens to have their one hobby is this and could just buy whatever, you're shut out of the game. And that is really, really upsetting as a collector and somebody who's, again, a loyalist for the brand. So I think, some level of exclusivity is kind of good. On my Kickstarters, I always put in exclusive variant cover. But everybody who goes onto the Kickstarter can get that exclusive variant cover. It's not something that it's running for a month or whatever, so it's not like you really miss it. Usually I have 20 or so copies left over after the print run because I print a little bit over. And so if somebody misses it and is new later, I can usually help them with that. But what happens if it gets to the point like this pin idea where you have to be the first customer at a shop 4 times for titles, which means, spending hours and hours and hours in line overnight and things like that. And, there's 100 shops across the country. So, how many copies of this book are there? Like 200 total? It becomes really difficult to be a fan. And, it's getting to that line where I had a lot of fun with this. I thought it was great for a lot of these gimmicks, but I think it's gone too far. And, well, I guess bad ideas in their name and in their title. So I should get what I expect. What do you guys think about this? Is this too much? Here's what the first customer pins are looking like on eBay now. They're 100, 200, 500, $1,000. There's none. This one's a fake one. This is not one that actually will get you their deal. But you see, the only way to even try to pick these up to do this, you're going to be spending absurd amounts just to get a comic book. It's not worth it. So what do you think? Is the speculator market too much? I think it is at this point. I think it's over the line, and I think it sucks. Let me know. Hit that like and subscribe button. We'll be back soon.